and limit the time used to present your remarks in order that others may be given an opportunity to speak. The normal process on any agenda item is for the chairperson to read the item from the agenda. The board is given an and/or place a motion on the floor. An opportunity for discussion may be presented, at which time the public may participate and a roll call vote will follow. Call the roll, please.
Thompson?
Yes.
Patton?
Yes.
Fawcett?
Yes.
Okay. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 4 on our agenda this morning is approval or amendment of the agenda. I'll entertain motions, please.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as printed. Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Fawcett?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes,
Patton?
Yes.
motion carries. Item 5 on our agenda this morning is the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of regular session of March 30th, 2021, special session minutes of April 1st, 2021, and special session of April 6th, 2021. Approve the claims. Approve claims as audited and authorize the county auditor and recorder to issue payment of the same. The listing of claims paid at this meeting and all claims paid in the month of April will be published as part of the first meeting in May. Receipt of the auditor recorder's quarterly report, January through March, dated 4/1/2021. Total of $64,035.43. Records management fees of $1,604. E-commerce fees of $1,604, and general basic of $60,827.43. We are in receipt of a manure management plan from Dennis Anderson, number 62-848, 1832 Main Street Road, State Center. 4-year update, no changes made. Receipt of manure management plan for Aaron Borton, number 65-862, 1359 140th Street, St. Clements, Iowa. Annual update 2021, no changes made. Receipt of manure management plan from Bill Helvelka, Site 3, number 64515, 2833 Garwin Road, Marshalltown, Iowa. Annual manure update, no changes made. Receipt of manure management plan for JT Farms, East Site, number 63208, 2349 290th Street, Haverhill, Iowa. Annual update 2021, no changes made. I'll entertain motion on the consent agenda, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the consent agenda as printed. And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Fawcett?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Patton?
Yes.
Okay. Before we get on to our next items, I'd like to make a couple comments. First of all, on behalf of the board, I would like to thank all of the applicants for the positions, for the courage to serve in today's environment. We were very fortunate to have a great slate of candidates. It did not make our job any easier. Interviews were extremely good conversation that went both ways, and a great deal was learned. All of the answers were scored on a matrix, with the scores being very close among all the candidates. Every single candidate had good ideas to manage their respective offices. The interviews were closed, but if everybody had an opportunity to listen, there were top choices. That being said, I'd like to go on to item 6 on our agenda this morning, which is to appoint the county sheriff. This individual will serve as county sheriff from 11/15/2020 until 11/15/2022, with the position on the general election of 11/8/2022. I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move to appoint Joel Phillips as the individual to serve as county sheriff until 11/15/2022 with the position on the general election of 11/8/2022.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Joel Phillips as county sheriff.
When do you want to make it effective for payroll purposes? Do you want to make it effective today or tomorrow? It needs to be a whole day. It's easier.
What is going to be easier for your department?
Doesn't matter. It can
Let's make it today. If
today.
we could, please.
Effective today.
Yep.
Sounds
Okay,
great.
is that acceptable to
That's
you,
fine.
gentlemen?
Yep.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to appoint Joel Phillips as the county sheriff, effective today. Discussion?
No.
No?
Well, it was an interesting and good time that we had going through the interviews, and Joel's background and his work gives him an edge because he's done this before, and we're excited to have Joel, and I'm excited to have people who were able to step in and do this for us.
If I can make a comment?
Absolutely.
I want to thank the board for the professionalism during this whole process. To have the confidence in me to fill the role of sheriff. It's a difficult role, and I want to be assured to the board and the citizens of Marshall County that we're going to work together to build a relationship between department heads to provide the best possible law enforcement to the citizens of Marshall County.
Thank you, Joe.
Anything else? There being no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Solosik.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Patton.
Yes,
Joel, congratulations. Welcome aboard officially. Item 7 on our agenda this morning is to appoint the county attorney. This individual will serve as county attorney until 11/15/2022 with a position on the general election of 11/8/2022. Same thing, we are going to make this effective today. Entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to appoint Jordan Gaffney as the Marshall County Attorney. This individual will serve the county attorney as county attorney until 11/15/2020 with the position on the general election of 11/8/2022. Effective date is April 13th, 2021.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Jordan Gaffney as county attorney. Discussion?
There again, it was a tight thing, and we all scored our matrix separately, and we each asked the same question each time to be honest with the way we asked the questions. But as David said, I think we learned a lot from the interviewees because they had ideas we had not heard of before. And I'm excited about going forward and seeing some of those ideas put forth. I think it'll be a good deal.
Absolutely, I concur. The interviews were great. The thing that really struck out amongst all of the interviews was integrity in doing the job. And from the sheriff, it was the integrity and the treatment of individuals. And without question, from all of the candidates in the attorney's office, it was a consistent theme of communication and justice. Like I said earlier, the interviews were very informative. And honestly, I don't think we could have made a bad choice. Either one would have been very good. It's just one was slightly scored higher on all of our matrices, and you got to go with that.
I mentioned this yesterday, but I've interviewed and hired a number of people over the years in my position in the past, and this was the toughest one that I've ever had to decide on.
Absolutely.
This was not easy.
No. We're extremely fortunate to have the quality of individuals
Absolutely.
that we have, and that speaks very highly of the former county attorney and her hiring practices, because she chose very well. Okay, anything else? There being nothing else for discussion, roll call vote, please.
Slosik,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Jordan, if you're listening, congratulations. Item 8 on our agenda this morning is the agreement for acquisition of temporary and permanent right-of-way for upcoming project to replace Bridge J15 on 260th Street between Daniel G. Anderson for .080 acres of permanent right-of-way and .130 acres of temporary construction easement for $940. I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve agreement
Yes.
for acquisition or temporary and permanent right-of-way for upcoming bridge to replace Bridge J15 on 260th Street. Daniel G. Anderson, .080 acres of permanent right-of-way and .130 acres of temporary construction easement, $940.
Mr. Chairman, I'd second that.
Okay. Mark, you have anything you want to add to that before we vote on this matter?
I could explain a little bit about it. The rest of the right-of-way was purchased earlier. Sorry to say that this couple were separating at the time. They had to come to terms of who was going to own who. When this was all done, I had to wait for that to settle. Daniel ended up with the land. That's why we're waiting this long to approach him to buy the land. The bridge is actually in progress as we speak. They started replacing it already. But this will allow us to build the bridge properly concerning the drainage area, the water coming down the ditches and whatnot. It'll just make it a lot nicer project with this additional right-of-way.
Okay. Any other discussion or comments?
Any ideas when it's going to be completed?
I'm just going to say 3 months on this one.
Okay, good.
Yep, I'm guessing North Center Street's going to be about the same time.
Real close to Memorial Day.
Yeah, it may be a little later than that, but yeah, they're making good progress out of North Center Street too.
I know those folks would be very happy to be able to come in and out of town on North Center Street. It's been a while, but
Yes,
it's got to get worse before it gets better, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
it's a big project.
Yep. Okay, any further discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Slosik,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton.
Yes.
Okay. Item 9 on our agenda this morning is the Iowa retail permit application for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, vapor for Pandora Petroleum Incorporated, doing business as Rendawa Travel Center, 1659D Marshalltown Boulevard, Marshalltown, Iowa, Melbourne, Iowa, 50162 for license effective date 7/1/2021 through 6/30/2022. Entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the issuance of license, Iowa retail license for cigarette, tobacco, and nicotine vapor to Pandora Petroleum Incorporated, doing business as Renhawa, if I pronounce that correctly, Travel Center, 1659D Marshalltown Boulevard, Melbourne, Iowa, 50162, effective 7/1/2021 through 6/30/2022.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Slosson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Item 10, we're going to table this morning at the request of our zoning individual. And we're going to move right on to item 11. Steve, have you been attending all these meetings, and can you give us an update on the?
I'm actually the update
Okay,
person
you're going
today.
to update us on this one?
We had a meeting last week and we looked at, we're looking at another landowner. And myself, Brad Fonts, and Mike Miller met with that landowner Friday morning. And they are very receptive to this. And so an agreement was drawn up for, they need to do some boring about 8 foot down to make sure it's a suitable site and verify that. It is just adjacent to a hog facility. So they're very confident it will be a good site because they've had construction there previously, right in that area. So since we've met, they are going to do the boring, and following that and that approval, which sounds like it would go very quickly per Mike Miller, then Bill is going to get involved and work on acquiring the land either by lease or purchase. And we did have some discussion with the landowner when I met with them, when we met with them Friday morning, and then I met with them again later on Friday to get the signatures on the agreement. So good progress on that, and looks like we're going, hopefully having a good option forward.
Good. I was worried when our first landowner of our first choice backed out that we were going to hit a brick wall on
No,
this.
there's a lot of locations up in that area, so it's a nice high site, and with it being adjacent to this property, there's a setback that we've talked about for the antenna, which is, you know, required, but it's set back from a home where people live, because this is a hog site and there's no people living there. It can be right next to it, and it's a lot nicer for a farmer to farm around than having something in the middle of their farmland.
Absolutely.
Now, that's when you put it out in the middle of the field, even when we narrow in that amount of space, you still got to try and work around it.
And your comments last meeting talking about the future of 24-row planters trying to work around something like that. It's actually in a corner so they can go around it. It's going to be a nice space. So the landowner, I've kind of, like I said, passed him off to Bill, but we do have to kind of make sure and get that verification on the boring. And at least the weather's good right now, so we could probably follow up with Mike. I think we have a meeting Wednesday, so we'll know if they've got that completed, and then Bill can,
See if the boring,
yeah.
that particular soil up in there should be good for towers. It's on the edge of the Wisconsin Glacier, and there's rock and sand down there ways. It will firm it up. So one thing I might want to throw out, Steve, you to think about this too. If this landowner prefers leasing, I know we talked about leasing as a good possibility. My concern was, you know, land when I started farming was leasing for $100 an acre. And some 45 years later, it's not at $100 an acre anymore. And we have to try and come up with a lease that kind of takes that into account. And dreaming about this, I thought maybe we could use the Iowa State cash rent thing that they put out every year. And we could use that and run off of that at some sort of percent. That way it would build up. And if it went down, it could go down, I suppose.
Let's hope not.
No, that would be a bad thing. But for everybody, but, anyway, you think about that.
You bet. Well, I
And-
agree, you bet. And
And
we'll,
I think that could be worked out.
we'll incorporate that into any
Yeah.
agreement that is made with them, so.
Mm-hmm. And that is a good way to have a feel of the market. That ISU extension
Yeah.
sheet is just
Good
a
place to
good-
start.
It's a
Yes.
good place to start.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's a good, starting point, so.
Seeing as how you're already giving us updates, why don't you just jump into item number
I
12 for
just
our
gotta keep going.
comprehensive corona leave policy.
So as, you know, it's been a while since we've talked about this. It was actually either the end of December or early January that we extended the FFCRA, which allowed for COVID sick. That ended December 31st. You all, as many other counties and cities and businesses did, extended that on our own so we'd be safe and people wouldn't come to work. Immunizations now, life is changing. Life is a lot different than it was before. And now that the immunizations are out there, I would like to recommend that we end this part of our policy ending May 31st. And I'm going to give some clarification on that. Currently, our travel policy is people quarantine if they leave the country. And I know that's probably something that you're interested in continuing. I was on a call with this Iowa Perla group. So it's a bunch of counties, cities in the state of Iowa. And they said they had all ended their travel restrictions because basically only their employees were having to quarantine and other departments just weren't telling them. So it really wasn't fair. And because we do have that immunization out there, May 31st, I thought that gives, there's shots around. You can get shots. I'm now fully vaccinated, had my second one Friday. So I'm, you know, to that good point. And, you know, that's another 6-7 weeks out. The things that would not change, we would still be requiring masks in the bank at this point, unless you all want to change that. Pat Thompson, our public health nurse, is recommending that we keep those areas. I'm guessing, you know, folks coming into the sheriff's office, you're kind of the same way. Those public coming in, keeping the plexiglass up, keeping the plexiglass between our employees, so that if one employee goes down, we don't lose a whole row of employees working with our public. So all of those measures would stay intact. This is more of our internal for our employees. That policy would end May 31st.
Then do you want to bring this back up?
I would. I wanted to make sure you all were okay with that before we updated the policy. You know, obviously we've got a little time before May 31st and you know, it's obviously it's up to you, and you all were good enough to extend that policy so that we could continue hoping to keep people a little safer by sick people staying home when they have COVID. You know, we've got a lot of new employees. There's been a lot of, you know, we've had some turnover lately, some retirements and things. So you end up with more new employees and they just don't have the time like others do.
I'd be comfortable with it unless we run into another
Spike.
and then I would want to revisit it.
Okay,
And we don't know how many people actually got the vaccines.
no, and you know, I've listened to that group, that HR group that we have. I listened to them. There is some talk of mandating your employees getting it. Boy, that sounds a little ugly when you listen to all the legal stuff. And, you know, we don't know what health issues people have. I don't want to have those conversations with employees.
No, I agree.
You know, I think then you're leaving it up to the employee whether or not they want to get
They're making
it.
a choice at
They're
that
making
point.
their choice. And you know what? Then if they get it and they're out sick for 10 days, they're out sick and they
Yeah.
use their sick time.
Yeah.
And that's what that leave time is for. You all were generous enough to extend that and allow that additional time for folks. And now they've got the option of getting vaccinated, which, you know, I'm hearing that when I get to my 2-week mark, I'm 95%. I've heard the other, I had Moderna. If you have the other one, I heard 95.2. So that's pretty good odds. But I don't want to lose the safeguards that our employees have with the plexi and things, especially at the bank. Our public area out of the sheriff's office is nice because it's already got the glass there. We've got it up at the engineer's office so that we're trying to keep public and employees protected.
I'd like to see everyone get vaccinated, but that's their decision. I'm against mandating. Just one, I'm just one.
You're
But
just one.
that's what
It's a
I feel.
hard thing to monitor, and then you're dealing with health, people have health reasons that they don't. Or that I've heard of a couple of our county employees that are waiting for the J&J shot because it's very likely they'll have a reaction. And their healthcare provider has recommended that because there's only one shot. Makes sense. So they're again doing what their healthcare providers are doing, but that shot's not yet
They're going
available.
at it with the right angle then.
They are. They're talking to their healthcare person, and so yeah, there's no really action. I just needed the guidance from you, and we'll work on the policy and get that updated for that May 31st ending time. I'd tell you a month ago, I'd have never thought we'd have been having this conversation this quickly, but they've really upped the vaccinations here in our area, and it's now a real doable thing.
Okay.
Thank
Anything
you.
else? No. All right. We're going to move on to item 13 on our agenda, which is public forum. This is a time set aside for the public to make comments on topics of county business other than those listed on this agenda. No action will be taken on any of these topics brought up in public forum. Awfully quiet. Yes,
I
ma'am.
can give a little update on the fire station. I thought Lucas would be here, but I think he got a construction call. We've made great strides down at the fire station, and we're hoping to start. If you've driven by, if you haven't, the south two doors have been blocked in. It's not yet bricked in front, but it is blocked in, and those doors have now been removed. You'll see a little walk-in door there. We will be adding a mail drop box slot for ballots as well in the wall. We did have one in the door previous. We found that it wasn't very big, and things got jammed. So we're getting a little bit deeper box that we'll be utilizing there. We're also working on layouts on second floor to move the election equipment from here and from the sheriff's office, and to get that all into one location. So that work will be getting done too, because the folks on construction in here, they want into my election equipment room here, and they want to get working on the demo and everything there. So it's time. So we're making great strides there. I will tell you, here in the courthouse, I think we talked about at the meeting 2 weeks ago that we got the attorneys moved out. Was moving them out that week and had them completely out. Their area is nearly gutted. The demo has happened that quickly. So a lot of structural things going on throughout the building, and they're also working on all of our doors, all of our historic doors that'll be to the rotunda. They're working on the restoration of those, and we had a lengthy meeting on that yesterday. So really good things happening here. It's definitely progressing.
Anything on the annex?
The annex is completely on schedule. They should be done by the end of June, and they're actually putting up sheetrock. So the framing is complete there, and they're going great guns in there as well. The reason we're not moving till the middle of July is to get furniture, that type of thing in there, and clean it up after construction's done. So there's some things you do after they're done, but yeah, on schedule.
But it'll coincide with our lease.
Our lease is July 31st, so this is working out very well.
Should be close.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else under public forum? No? Okay. With that being said, item number 14 on our agenda this morning is adjournment. The next regular session is April 27th, 2021 at 9:05 a.m. All business to be acted upon at that session should be submitted to the County Auditor Recorder's Office or the Board of Supervisors Office Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 at 12 p.m. There being no further business to come before the board, this meeting is adjourned